One of the simplest ways to add scoreboard commands to a game would be just awarding points for completing something. This is a very simple find the button game where each stage the player who finds the button is awarded a point, and that will be tracked on the sidebar so you can kind of see who's doing the best. There's two commands you need to add the scoreboard objectives. The first is scoreboard objectives add, and the second is scoreboard objectives set display. I like to type these actually down in the slash command menu by just pressing slash. That way it'll actually help you type them to make sure you type them correctly. So for this first one, it was scoreboard. Another nice tip is as the options are coming up on the screen, if you press the tab button, it will autofill. Objectives, and then this first one we needed was add. Now mine says points because I already have that in the game, but you can add it and call it whatever you want. So for this one, again, I'm just going to type it in as points. And then you have to just type in dummy. Notice if you type something wrong, it goes away from the screen. So that's kind of a good sign that you made a mistake. And then the display name for your objective, and that will be what shows up on the side. I like to keep them the same so I don't have to try to remember two different things. So I'll just call that points. Then once you have it typed down there, you can just press Control A, which selects it. Even though nothing happens, it now has selected all of that text, and then Control C to copy. Then you can return to your command block, and then you can just press Control V to paste it in. But that way you know that it's going to work because you typed it down in the command bar. And the second command you need is the objectives set display. As you're typing that one, you've got a few choices for where it could display. I like the sidebar that will be on the screen in the game so they can see where the points are. And then again, you select what objective you want to display. There is a choice for ascending or descending, but it'll work if you leave those off. That's just an option. So again, we'll do, just to practice, Control A, Control C, and then you'd be able to just Control V to paste it into your command block. Alright, so let's see what happens in the game. Again, this is a pretty simple one. The button's right here. Before we press it, I want to kind of look at what's going to happen. So the first one says scoreboard players add. It's going to add the nearest player to the points objective 1. So it's going to add 1 point to their score. After that, we want to make sure we teleport them so they can't just stand there and keep clicking it a bunch of times. And in this type of game, only one person gets to find the button. So once one person finds the button in stage 1, it's going to teleport all players over to stage 2. The coordinates were 13, 6, 5. I chose a 6. That's how high up they are. I wanted them to actually be up a little bit, so when they teleported in, they would land down on this pressure plate and have it say stage 2. I'm at a Y value of 5 for how far up and down I am, so I chose one higher so it actually fall onto the pressure plate. So let's go ahead and test this. First of all, we need to actually press this. This only needs to be run once. In fact, you don't even need command blocks for these if you want to just type them in. Once they've been run once, they're in the game, they're ready to go. That would only be if you removed the objective or put the display somewhere else. So those don't have to be command blocks. You just need to activate them one time. So I'm in the game, I'm looking for the button, I find it, and now you can see over on the side I've got 1 point, and it teleported me over into stage 2. I'd continue looking for the button in stage 2. This is good because I actually forgot where it was. Here it is. And again, very similar. 2 command blocks. The first just adds a point to the nearest player, and the second teleports all players to the new stage. Just a quick reminder on this, remember it's really important that the arrows are pointing towards each other. So in this case, the first command block is activated, and then it points down and activates the next command block. Also, only the first one needs redstone and should be impulse. That means it needs some sort of input, like a button or a pressure plate. And that counts as redstone, any sort of activation. The second one you want to be should be called a chain and should be always active. So it just runs, it's always waiting to run as soon as the previous command block runs. So we'll test this one. I currently have 1 point. If I press this, now I have 2 points and I'm on to stage 3. So that's pretty simple way to use command blocks to run the scoreboard commands. There's a lot more you can do with them, but that would be a pretty basic system where you're tracking points on the side. Again, this would make the game, I think, a lot more entertaining, because instead of not really knowing who has hit the button the most or not really being tracked, you would have it on the screen and you could see who was doing the best job at finding the buttons.